Oh boy, welcome
Yes, sir.
to a Wednesday edition. I'm already locked in on the chat and I can see the exact type of conversations we are going to have today. And yes, it's going to be a lot about Bobby. Actually, it might be short and sweet. Who knows? We'll get into it.
I mean, how much more is there to say about Bobby Miller? But you go ahead.
Man, you know what? We're going to just talk Dodgers. It's exciting because we're getting near the playoffs, and Greg has been saying all just last month, and so this is where you want to be, 8:30 to 8:55 on the Blue Review, because we are your destination for Dodgers morning talk. So keep pulling through and keep on activating, talking in the chat, and we will respond. But before we do so, I want to remind everyone that here at the Blue Review, we're presented by LAX and our friends at Los Angeles International Airport. I think producer Anthony was just there this morning dropping off his sister. Hello, Anthony.
Easy and clean and quick.
Easy and clean and quick, he says. Look at that.
Look at
Our
that.
friends
Look at that.
at LAX are transforming the travel experience. So if you want to learn more, check it out at flylax.com/transforming LAX. So Marcus, 11 runs allowed to the Marlins. Thoughts?
Yeah. I'm not the first person to say this. I'm sure I won't be the last, but that is going to have to be the last time we see Bobby Miller in 2024. There's just no way to start him at this point. And I know we were in the group chat yesterday, and the defense certainly didn't help him out. But at this point, it's hard to give him the benefit of the doubt. He continues to miss with his secondary pitches. Every team he faces now, they just wait him out and they go hunt the fastball and they hit the fastball. And that's basically what happened again yesterday. He lasts 2 innings, throws 65 pitches, I think it was, something like that, in 2 innings, gives up 4 runs, has traffic all over the base paths. Greg, I think the most frustrating part, though, is that the offense did its part. I mean, you scored 9 runs, you should win most nights, but it was like Miller got them off to a bad start, put them in a hole. The decision to follow with Michael Grove was certainly a choice, because that
especially when he came back.
Yeah, you come back, you've tied it up. You come back, Michael Grove immediately gives up a go-ahead run again, and it just felt like the Dodgers were chasing. But I mean, the top line is, this has been a lost year for Bobby Miller. I think it's time for him to just shut it down for the year and get his mind and his body right, and try this again in 2025.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, he should have probably been sent down a month ago. Like, he shouldn't have been pitching even at this point. So, but the fact of the matter is they needed starting pitching. They've been so injured, so beat up. That's another guy. I honestly feel that, as much as Justin Robleski got blasted in his last real start, you probably bring him back. You got maybe a better shot, because you're right. He has no confidence right now. There's just nothing that Bobby Miller is showing that is worthy of another start. And I wouldn't be surprised, because we're getting so late into the season. They're just like, just go out there one more time, because we need an arm, and you are an arm. But then that also hurts your bullpen, and you saw what happens with the bullpen. It really should never happen again. I know Dave is going to talk about it today, whether they're going to decide today whether he goes down or not. But he should, because that's the worst. As much as the defense didn't help him, and I really have no idea why, when that ball was hit to Muncy at third and he ran into a guy, why he didn't just tag him first.
Tag him. Tag him.
Tag, throw. I mean, it was very odd. They would have gotten out of the inning at that point, but still, or gotten close to getting out of the inning at that point. It didn't make any sense whatsoever. But yeah, I'll say this. Yesterday was basically a waste of a game. It was a waste of a game because both the Padres and the Diamondbacks lost. So you didn't gain anything, you didn't lose anything. Just clear it, just get it out of your mind. That game just didn't happen, essentially. I mean, it sucks for some of the relievers, but besides that game didn't matter in the standings in any sense, except for it getting closer to a bye.
Yeah, I mean, look, thankfully, the Padres losing, it cuts the magic number to 8. I mean, the 2 things right now for this team, obviously winning the division and getting that second bye, because they're going to need that to get their arms in order. I know in the past, having that bye has been, we've looked at it with a little bit of dread, because they just don't seem to have energy. But this year, they desperately need it to try and get their pitching staff in order, get some kind of rotation set up at this point. So, I mean, it's frustrating, because to see the way that series ended in Atlanta, to see them come back in those final 2 games, the offensive explosion, to get the shutout in that finale in the series, and then to follow it up with just the pitching staff laying an egg in Miami against the worst team in the National League. It just felt like a wasted opportunity. And I remember having somebody once tell me a long time ago that in baseball, momentum is only as good as your next day's starting pitcher, and that never felt more true than last night. You get Walker Buehler on Sunday, battling through and giving you 5+ innings. You get Yamamoto on Monday, who doesn't have his best stuff, but he gives you 4 shutout innings, and the bullpen locks it down the rest of the way. And so you felt good. You felt like things were sort of starting to pick up. You were going to Miami with a chance to really sweep a bad team. And to have that happen. But even still, Greg, as bad as the pitching was yesterday, they brought the tying run to the plate in the 9th inning.
Right.
I mean, they still had a chance to tie the ball game,
The opportunities was there. The offense was still clicking. Muncy is getting hits. I think he had 5 RBIs.
Yeah.
He was moving. The guys are hitting, and I think that was 3 games in a row with 9+ runs.
Yeah.
So they're starting to really show what they can do. And this is also the Marlins are not going to do that again. I don't expect 11 runs again from the Marlins. They are the worst team in the National League for a reason. And the fact is, the Dodgers have to take full control of this situation that they're in, where they have 8 of the next 11 games against the worst teams in the National League. The Marlins and the Rockies 6 times. You have to be able to win most of these games, and probably all of them, just to feel safe, and then get that bye and let everybody rest and feel like, okay, we're getting our pitching staff in order and going well. Landon Knack tonight, they got to have a bounce back. Knack needs to give him 5. Either way, he has to give him 5.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, that's the other part of continuing to put Miller out there, is because I think we've all become accustomed to realizing that this team's going to have at least 1 bullpen game every week. That's just sort of the way things are set up. Putting Bobby Miller out there means you have at least 2 bullpen games in a week, and it just sets everything back. Having to go and use Vesia for a couple of innings last night, having to run Hudson out there. It just means you don't have them for later in the week. Now, ideally, look, you're playing the Marlins for 2 more games. You got the Rockies for 3. Hopefully, you're not in a lot of tight games where you're having to burn bullpen arms, but you just never know. You never know over the course of a week how things are going to go. But you definitely want to be able to save some of these and set them up, because you do have 3 big ones coming up with the Padres in the near future. And so you just want to make sure you have a rested bullpen, because you very much are going to need them against San Diego.
Yeah, you're absolutely good. And San Diego is a great bullpen, as we've seen so far. And they do things, both them and the Diamondbacks do things that I feel it doesn't happen as often. Maybe it does for the Dodgers, but it just feels like it doesn't. They come back and they win in the bottom of the 9th. Over and over and over again. They come back or tie in the bottom 9th and then win in the 10th over and over and over again. I was terrified last night. I was sitting there staring at my phone watching the Astros and Padres game, because I was like, they're going to do it again, aren't they? Manny Machado up with the bases loaded, 2 outs in the bottom of the 10th inning. He got out, thankfully. But the fact is, of course, this is going to happen again. Oh, yeah. So when you get to the Padres, and especially with the Padres having a tough schedule, playing the Astros right now, you have to build that lead enough that it won't matter, because you want to get into it. And also you have to start paying attention to the Brewers. Yeah. The Brewers are right on our tails to getting that second wild card spot. There's a battle. It's not just for the wild card spot, the bye. Yeah. There's a battle for the division. There's a battle for the bye. They have to keep playing at a high level, and they have the best opportunity to do that with who they're playing.
They do. I will say this about the Brewers, is that they do have a pretty tough schedule the rest of the way. They've got the Phillies again today. They've got 4 against the Diamondbacks, which I guess for the Dodgers, the best situation is maybe they split those 4 games, right?
Well, the Diamondbacks are 6 back. I'm not really too worried about them anymore. It's really the Padres.
Yeah. But so the Brewers they got the Diamondbacks. They finish up against the Mets, who right now are still very much in the hunt for a playoff spot. So
Yeah.
we'll see what happens, a week or two from now if they're still in contention. But at least as of this moment, the Mets very much still have something to play for. So the Brewers are going to have their hands full over the next couple of weeks. But right now it's so fun. I was thinking of this last night too, Greg. Just the ups and downs, like how emotional we're sort of getting with this Dodger team based on the start of the pitching staff that you get on any given day, right? If you go out and if Yamamoto or Flaherty gives you a good start, you're feeling great. You're like, okay, I see a path forward for this team. Then you get the Bobby Millers, then you get Landon Knack struggling, and you're like, well, I don't know how this team makes it out of a divisional series. It's just, I know this is part of being a fan, but they do have such a hold on my brain on a daily basis right now.
I mean, that's just what we have to do. This is part of watching everything. I was talking to people just the other day, like, I think that of the, what are we at, 150 games, 152 games, somewhere right around there. Yeah. I've probably watched in full all 9 innings, 145 of those. Like that's what type of year this has been for. Yeah. It's just so fun. And by the way, just going back to the schedule, San Diego has a really, really hard rest of the way. They have the Astros again today. That's their last one against the Astros. Then they get 3 with the White Sox, which they should breeze through. However, if you're looking ahead, because then they have 3 at Dodgers, 3 at Diamondbacks, those 6 games are really, really tough. If you look past the White Sox, you're going to lose 1 or 2 of those, and that will absolutely hurt you. So, that's what we got to hope. We got to hope that the White Sox show that they're not going to lose 120 games this year.
They're totally going to lose 120 games this year.
They have 116 right now, so I'm not seeing that happening. But throughout all of this, I know I get painted, especially on this, as being the negative guy on here. I do lean negative just because I'd like to see what I see problems and I like to point them out. I still feel extremely good about this team in the postseason. I know that there's a little bit of rough in that pitching staff. But I feel really good about the bullpen still. I feel really good about the offense, and I feel really good about Yamamoto and Flaherty, even though we haven't seen much from Yamamoto besides 2 starts. The second start, he was not as good and was giving up hard contact, but he got out of it, and he got out of it as if he gets ramped up to about 5-6 innings and about close to that 100 pitches, because he was 72, I think, last time. I'll feel really good about that too.
Yeah, and the thing I talked about with Clint Pasillas yesterday on the show is that, obviously we would all love it. We would love it. Yeah, he's great. We would love it if Yamamoto or every pitcher goes out and just shoves and has nothing but clean innings, but that's not reality, especially once you get through the playoffs. And so to see him without his best stuff be able to battle, it was encouraging, right? Ideally, you'd like to see him get through more than 4 innings, but okay, he's still sort of working himself back and building that stamina again. So I thought that was really, really encouraging against a team that, I know the Braves aren't at full strength, missing some key players, but they still have some guys in that lineup who can hit, and he was able to work around trouble every time he was out there. So I think we know that they've got 2 solid starters. We know that for sure in Flaherty and Yamamoto. It looks like right now, Buehler is the number 3, and I get it, but there have been signs of life here, right? I mean, we started the show talking about Bobby Miller, and I think at some point those 2 guys were very much in the same boat. Their paths have diverged, where we have seen Buehler have some good starts, show some things that suggest he could give you some postseason innings, whereas Bobby Miller just continues to try and find it on every 5 days or so. So, at this moment, I think those are your 3 postseason starters. Then it's about trying to figure out, how you're arranging that bullpen to get you the rest of those outs.
Yeah, those guys need to give you length, and if Walker Buehler can give you length, then get you 6 innings, which is a lot. I mean, he got close to he went into the 6th inning. Did he finish 7 innings on Sunday? I don't remember if he actually finished. He went into the 6th. He went into the 7th inning though. But so either way, if he can give you that type of length, that will absolutely help in the postseason. I just worry about Walker because that start on Sunday, whether it was only I know he only gave up that 1 run. earned. He gave up 2, but 1 was earned. That was probably about 2 feet from being 6 runs that got in. It had the bases loaded with a long fly ball that fell into Mookie's lap at the wall. I mean,
Yeah.
look, it didn't go over, and it wasn't 6 runs, but those types of balls, if you get barreled up like that in the postseason, depending on which park you're in and how the weather is, that ball's gone. And that's what's a terrifying thing to me when it comes to Bobby. Or not Bobby, it comes to Walker. Walker, I think, is showing signs of life. Is showing that curveball is really, really good. Is showing that he can get guys out. He can get swing and miss. It just is a little bit terrifying that these guys are home run happy. They give up a lot of home runs.
Yeah. I mean, they do. I saw the comment from JJ Reddit, and I agree. Where they're at now is definitely better than they were last year, where you were trying to run out there with Kershaw and Lance Lynn. Like, there's
it was Bobby Miller was their game 1 starter.
Yeah, I mean, there's no argument there whatsoever. So yeah, I get it, but this is what it is, and they sort of have to make do with this right now. And look, credit to Dave Roberts, who had that team meeting with them after Saturday's game. It's basically like, look, I believe in you guys. We have enough talent in this room to win, because he obviously sensed that the players were feeling what we're all feeling, right? It's just watching another pitcher go down to injury and sitting here trying to count the days left to see if somehow Gavin Stone can come back, or checking on Clayton Kershaw's toe. Like, I think there's no way around it. Like, everybody is feeling that anxiety. And so for Roberts to go out there and kind of reassure everybody, look, man, I know he catches a lot of hell, right? And some of it is kind of deserved, but I think, when he does something to kind of get this team going, I think we should give him his props for that too. And I thought he did a really good job of just trying to refocus this club in what was a really, frustrating situation.
Yeah, no, it absolutely was. Can you put that back up, Parker, please? The one from Ruben Flores. That's the one that I want to just focus on that for just a second, Marcus. Walker can beat a bad team. That's about it. And now I know I'm really hard on Walker Buehler. I've not shied away from that in the slightest. I said that he should have gone on the 60-day IL a little bit, like just about a month ago, and possibly even DFA'd, which was overboard. I understand. He beat a team, whether or not was what I was saying. It could have been 6 runs. It was not. He beat the Atlanta Braves, who just smoked you on Friday and Saturday. Just beat the doors off of you on Friday and Saturday. Beat Jack Flaherty up. He held them to 1 earned run. So, yes, he beats the bad teams, but that was a good Atlanta Braves team that is fighting for a playoff spot and is a really good team. So so I would not agree on that point. He is something. Yeah, and postseason array. That's, again, I love you, BC, but when you put up things like post career ERAs and all those kind of things with guys, you're going all the way back to 2021, and when he was good and he no longer has the sticky stuff, and he's not the same guy.
He's a different guy now. He's just a different guy.
He's just a different guy. So, and yes, I agree with Ed Meow. Sorry, I'm answering all these questions live.
Yeah, go for it.
Get more of the benefit. Buehler 100% getting more of the benefit of the doubt than Miller because of all the things that we were just talking about, Marcus.
Yeah, no, exactly. He has put some good starts together. And it is just sort of about building. I think he's figuring himself out, and that's kind of what this season was. I know that we all got antsy. We were hoping that it would happen faster than it did. But I think he's sort of relearning how to pitch as a guy who can't be, he can't go out there and give you 5 innings at, touching 98, 99 all the time. He's got to mix in some off-speed stuff. And you mentioned that curveball, it's looking better. The off-speed stuff is getting swings and misses. Yeah, he still gives up hard contact at times, but I think he's starting to limit it. And I think the other big thing from that start on Sunday, he gave up those 2 runs. It probably could have been worse. After that, though, he came in and just was locked in the rest of the way. He came back out for the 4th inning and just was lights out the rest of the way. Whereas earlier in the season, a couple of bad things happened and it would tend to snowball on him. So I think more than anything, mentally, it seems like he's starting to get himself right, and that's going to be big for the playoffs.
Yeah, it feels like he's battling that mental portion, because he did walk 5 guys, and so like he was battling through it the first 3 innings and walking, and he walked the bases loaded and he walked in a guy. Like that just can't be something that you do. So the fact is you're right that he was able to clear his mind, come back out and get into the 7th inning. That says a lot about where he's at mentally and getting past those things. He wasn't at the time, but once he got through it, that makes you feel better about maybe he can start being the older Walker just mentally. He needs to not be he seems to get in trouble when he tries to overpower guys and overpower them with fastballs that he just doesn't have anymore. As much as he would love to be that guy, it seems like once in a while in every start he's like, you know what, I'm feeling good, I'm gonna overpower you right now. And he doesn't have it, and that's when he gets in trouble, and that's when he starts walking guys and missing the strike zone. And that's so I do see what you're saying, and I agree with you that mentally it feels like he's starting to get in place there.
Yeah, I think he definitely is. Yeah, Ruben, no, absolutely. We love Miggy Rowe on this show. We're huge fans of Miguel Rojas. He has been everything they wanted and more. I mean, like they basically brought him in for his defense and the fact that he's given them so much offensively at what, 35, 36 years old, whatever it is. You could not have asked for more from Miguel Rojas. And, we talked about it before. Those are the guys that have to show up in the playoffs. Like, yes, you need Shohei and Mookie and Freddie. You need those guys to hit. But it's the Miguel Rojases, it's the Gavin Luxes, it's the Tommy Edmonds. Those are the guys who, ultimately will have to have some key at bats somewhere along the line for the Dodgers to win in the World Series.
So one thing I wanted to talk to you about, and I was thinking about this morning, but yes, with Miguel Rojas, Edman, and Lux, those are the guys that you really need at the bottom of the lineup just to come through pretty consistently to be successful. Because if they get moving and Max Muncy is doing what he's doing, then it eases everything up off the top of the lineup and everything just kind of flows through. It's Gavin Lux. So I was looking at it right now, and Gavin Lux was super hot for about 2 months. Is that fair?
Yeah.
2 months. So for the first 2-3 months, he was absolutely horrendous. Got super hot for 2 months, and now in the month of September, he's 2 for his last 24. He did have a couple of hits early on from September 1st to 4th, but for the most part, he has been really, really cold. He's also come off the bench and been a pinch hitter 4 of his last 7 games. So at that point, he is a platoon second baseman, which is better for the Dodgers that they are able to platoon him, especially this year. But how are you feeling about Lux before we get out of here? Because his defense is starting to fade. His hitting is starting to fade, and that he needs to be big for this team to do well.
He does. And I do wonder if a lot of it is because he's spent long stretches out of the lineup. You mentioned the fact that he's been pinch hitting a lot, so he's coming in late, and you just wonder whether or not that sort of affected his focus. That's going to be the breaks when they face left-handed pitching. He's not going to start against that, but it was something when he was in there every day and he was hitting so well they couldn't get him out of the lineup. Now that he's not in there, you just wonder whether or not that's sort of, it's hard to kind of stay. You hope everybody stays sharp. Like ideally that's what happens, but humans are humans, and sometimes it sort of takes away from your focus.
Yeah. So hopefully he can start to figure it out, because he's got about 2 weeks to figure it out, Parker. And when that happens, if he gets back to the guy he was at the plate, then it won't really matter. So hopefully he can get back there.
That's right. No, and thank you to the chat for just being so active today. This was really good. I was throwing all of those up and trying to produce out here. But great episode. And of course, even after a Dodgers loss, we will be here every day, like we keep saying, 8:30 to 8:55. So tap in, be here for the road to the playoffs. I mean, 8 is the magic number. 8 is the magic number, and we will be.
Yes, it is.
We will be reacting every day. So thank you to LAX. Thank you again to everyone in the chat. Thank you to ESPN LA. Stay here for DeMarco and AK today, as Travis is, he was sending off his kids to college. So stay here in the chat. Thank you, Marcus. Thank you, Greg. I've been Joe Kelly, and we will catch you tomorrow. Welcome back, Joe Kelly, by the way. Should be back on the roster.
Bam, bam. Bam.